Hi, I'm Mia Friedman and this is No Filter. When I was 10 and 11 years old, Justine Clarke was my best friend. This is a true fact, and I even have a photo to prove it. So when one of Australia's most loved, most admired and most respected actresses and Play School hosts came into the Mamamia office to do this interview with me, I made her reenact that photo, which involved us busking in a park while dressed like acrobats. Justine has always been a performer. Now she's playing Betty Heslop in the musical adaptation of Muriel's Wedding. And I wanted to take the opportunity to talk to her about what happened after she first became incredibly famous while we were still at school. What was that level of fame like? How did she deal with it? And more importantly, what really goes on behind the scenes on Play School? Is it harder than it looks? Apparently it is, so much. I also wanted to know what it's like being and remaining so successful at the age of 46 in an industry that prizes youth and beauty among most other things, at least for women. You are going to love listening to Justine talk about her life and her work and her face. And it's a face I just want to kiss all the time, and it was hard to stop myself during this interview. Here is Justine. Hello.
Hello.
Last time I interviewed you, we were sitting on a bed in a hotel room.
I know.
Do you remember?
Yeah, and that was probably 10 years ago.
Probably. And I've just handed you a photo of us when we were, how old do you reckon we are in that photo?
10.
We were in 5th or 6th class.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Coco's in 6th class now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Look at us.
gosh, we were, that you were just such a, is it your birthday tomorrow? The 11th.
How do you remember?
The 16th.
It's the 9th.
The
How
9th.
do you remember? I'm terrible
I don't know.
at birthdays.
I don't know why. I don't remember anyone's birthday. I couldn't even barely tell you my children's birthday. But there's something about your childhood friends that are just embedded in your DNA on some very deep cellular level.
It's
like
true.
Before we turned the microphones on, we were catching up on every member of your family whose names I know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I've got friends that I've been close to for 25 years and I've never even met their children, let alone their parents or their brothers or sisters.
That's right. That's so true.
And there's that real connection. Like I remember you grew up in a family of women. You were surrounded by these extraordinary women, your older sister, your much older half-sister and your niece. And I always loved going to your house because it was this incredibly dynamic family of performers. And your sister became a Swanette.
Yes.
When the Sydney Swans had cheerleaders, and I remember that was the height of glamour. Like there was nothing more glamorous than being a Swanette in the 80s.
It's true. It's true. They were very, very popular too,
Heady
weren't they?
times, yeah. And so we were at primary school together, and then we sort of lost contact in high school. But I remember walking home from school one day and seeing you on the cover of TV Week as Rue in that first incarnation of Home and Away.
Mm-hmm.
And through our childhood, you'd always done acting and you'd been a working actor through your childhood. You'd done a number of things. I think you'd done Mad Max in that time. Mm-hmm. You'd done The Sound of Music. You did lots of ads. So you were my most impossibly glamorous, famous friend. But Home and Away was next level, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was next level. It was.
What was that experience like and how old were you?
I was 16 when I started shooting Home and Away, and had just finished school. So I was like, I don't need to go to school.
Did you leave in year 10?
Yeah, left in year 10 when it was kind of,
I don't think you're even
acceptable.
allowed to do that anymore.
No, you're not. But it was sort of acceptable then.
Yeah.
It was a, legitimate pathway, leave in year 10 and start working. And so, yes, went into a very, very intense period of work on Home and Away because it was in its first year and a half. So we were promoting it every weekend and there was a lot riding on it for Channel 7 and, we were shooting it for quite a few months before it went to air. So there was this sort of excitement and anticipation about how it would go. And then it was back in the day when, you would fill a shopping centre if you were, making an appearance there on a Saturday. And we would do that every weekend in every state. So it was a kind of, it was my life for about a year and a half. Yeah.
Why did you decide to pull a pin on it?
I don't...
Wasn't that the ultimate?
Well, the thing that attracted me to it was the role. I as a 16-year-old, I just loved the idea of playing this very complex character.
Remind me about Rue.
So Rue's mother had died of cancer, and she lived with her father. So she was an only child, and she really resented the fact that her father had found love, with Ailsa. She alienated herself at school. And
was Alf your dad?
Yeah.
Right. I'd forgotten that bit.
Oh.
Yeah, Alf was your dad, and Alf and Ailsa were in love,
yes.
and Rue was pissed off.
Yes.
And was Rue 16? Was Rue your age?
Yeah, she was my age.
And then Rue hooked up with Alex Papp's character, whose name was...
Frank.
Frank.
Yeah, and Frank and Rue... Well, Frank loved Rue, but Rue was not so sure.
Not that into him.
Not that into him.
Did Rue get pregnant?
Yes, she got pregnant.
Oh, it's all coming back from the archives.
She got pregnant to somebody else, but she then convinced Frank that she loved him.
Oh, thank you, Rue.
And that Frank was the father.
Bad Rue.
And so then Frank offered to marry her, and through this process she realised what a great and beautiful guy he was, and she actually fell in love with him. But on the wedding day she couldn't reconcile what she'd done.
The greatest mistake you can make is to marry him, truly loving him, knowing that he'll end up hating you, because that is what will happen.
I will. Ruth?
And so instead of saying, I do, she said, I can't. It's not your baby.
It's not yours. Cliffhanger.
Yeah. Big, major cliffhanger.
Wow.
Major. Like the whole of Australia, is riding on these moments. And everybody in Australia too thinks that I am actually Rue. Like, I'm not Justine who plays Rue. I am Rue. And, and Alex Paps is Frank,
Yeah.
That's what it was like then.
And
there
you've done
wasn't
the dirty.
Yeah. There wasn't that sort of... I mean, with social media, you can have your own life, and we're really interested in all those people in home away, what they're doing, or the behind-the-scenes photos they take on Instagram, or, whatever else they're doing in their life is just as interesting, and we can still follow what their character's doing. But back then, there wasn't an avenue for that sort of story, really.
So how did people treat you?
Like Rue.
Like, were they angry with you?
Yeah, they were. They were angry. And I think maybe if I was an older actor, maybe I would have some perspective on it. But being that age, I mean, for years afterwards, if I'd see a group of teenagers, like a school group at a bus stop or something, my heart rate would go up. Because if they did recognise me, they'd be angry. They'd be angry at how I treated Bobby, and they'd be angry at how I treated Frank. And
Forgot about Bobby.
yeah.
Rue wasn't very nice.
No, she wasn't.
Is that why ultimately you wanted to go?
No, because she ended up through the pregnancy, and she gave her baby up for adoption. She ended up learning a lot about life, and she became actually, quite a nice person in the end.
Was that when you became aware of the difference between being famous and acting?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah,
because
in that experience.
Because I'd been acting for a long time, and you come up against kids who maybe will give you a hard time because tell you you've got a big head or whatever, you're a show off. That happened a lot, but that was amongst people that I knew, who knew me, so they would see me on the Stork commercial and go, "You look like an idiot," whatever. That's fine, but then when strangers suddenly recognise you, that's a whole different ball game, I think.
And that's when you decided to pull the pin on the fame to focus on the acting. Was it really at that moment? How old were you?
Well, I was only 18 when I stopped Home and Away. Yeah.
Was there pressure to stay? Because the money must have been great.
Yeah, there was a bit of pressure to stay. Yep. But I wasn't giving my best work to the show in the end. I needed to just do other work and do just shorter form drama, I think, which is what I ended up doing. Lots of telly movies, and then kind of decided it was time to go to drama school.
Is there much creative satisfaction in a sort of serialised soap in terms of acting?
Yeah, there can be, enormous. But I think you have to be a certain kind of performer. You have to have great patience, and you have to have stamina, like over the day, because they're really long days and you're shooting a lot of dialogue and a lot of scenes. So you have to have stamina. You have to have a certain amount of like really, really focused energy. And when I see the best people who do it, I think, wow, I'm in absolute awe of them.
Who would you say that? What are some examples of that?
Georgie Parker, Eric Thompson. I mean, everybody on All Saints who you know, I did a few months on All Saints and I just was in awe of how amazing those performers were. And all the older actors too, like Ray Ma, watching Ray, just with that incredible even energy, you know, all day long. It's really hard to do. Yeah.
Why you said patience? Why do you need patience?
I mean, you need patience in the film industry anyway, because
a lot of waiting around.
Yeah, because there's a lot of waiting around, and I think with serial television too, you're repeating what you say a lot in just a slightly different way, just enough for it to be not the same as the last scene, but not different enough for you to really, you know, get a grasp on it. And so that's a lot of patience in learning that.
Lines.
Yeah, learning your lines.
How do you learn lines? How do you learn lines? I've always wondered that.
Okay, well...
Like when you get a script, you're doing a play at the moment, how do you learn the lines?
Well, a play is different because you have longer with the script and you have longer in rehearsal to get it into your body, and because you're doing it with people all the time. But in television, often you're on your own when you're learning your lines. So you're looking at the script and you're really imagining how the scene's going to play. You're seeing people in front of you, and you're imagining how it's going to play, and you're kind of running through it in your mind, and you try and get it into your body, but really you're just step by step kind of looking at the line and reading it. You're just reading it over and over again.
Is there a trick? So do you read like... Because you've also got to learn what line comes before it.
You have to learn the other person's line as well.
So do you get a sick feeling in your stomach when you get a script and there's just all these things and you go, how will I ever... Or do you just know that you will get it in your head?
You know you will, but you still get the sick feeling, particularly on something like Play School, which is a half an hour of scripted content. There's no auto cue.
There's no auto cue?
No. We learn those
Why not?
scripts because the thing that makes Play School, I think, so successful is the connection between the performer and the audience member. And so you just can't, because there's always that filter across where you've got that sort of slightly stunned look on your face as you're reading. So we think of it as a drama, and the person that you're working off is that 4-year-old child who's watching it. I mean, you work with your presenter as well, but I think that the main connection you're making is with the person on the other side.
Is it shot as live?
It's shot in segments, so you might do 3 segments in one. They love to do as many as they can in one because it gives the episode such great flow. But it's about cameras and trying to move cameras, because the way that it's shot is the areas are in a line, so the cameras have to move along, and you can only sort of do 3 segments at a time. So you might do 10 minutes in one go,
and then reset. How long does it take to film one episode?
4 hours. 4 hours rehearsal, 4 hours shooting.
So 8 hours in total.
And you do 2 episodes. You record 2 episodes in a day, you rehearse 2 episodes in a day.
Right. Would you remember your audition?
Yes, I remember my audition. I sang, up in the air I fly, zoom, zoom, a zoom, a zoom, zoom, up in the clear blue sky, zoom, zoom, a zoom, a zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah. Did you have to, what was the brief for the audition? Were you given a script?
Yes, you're given a song and you were given a story. Yeah, there was just a song and a story.
So you didn't have to work with another presenter?
No, but Peter Dacent, who plays the piano, he was in the room. So, it was like a dream come true. I was just like, I'm here, I'm doing this.
How old were you?
27, 28.
You know, when I used to watch Play School, I used to wish that Benita was my mum. And when my kids watch, they wish that you were their mum. So I thought that I had massive cred from knowing you. I don't think they ever believed me, but it's really funny because there's something about Play School presenters as a kid. They are everything your parent isn't. They're interested and they tell you stories and you have their complete attention.
So true.
Are you like that with your own children?
I wasn't on Sunday. I was so tired. What's that? There's a little quote that goes around with the teenagers and it's like, the day your parents decide to have beef with you about everything. There's some meme that goes, whatever it is, there's some little quote that goes around. That's what I was like on Sunday. They were just annoying me. Everything they said, everything they didn't do, which was nothing. Anyway.
So you didn't build any fire trucks out of a cardboard box?
I've got to say, my useful box has diminished.
Are you crafty?
I was crafty.
Are you actually crafty?
Yes.
Before play school, were you crafty?
No, not in my... a little bit, a bit arty, but I got crafty with the kids. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I got very crafty with the first two.
Yeah. Third one, whatever.
Oh, my God.
Here's a rock and a stick. Sort yourself out.
Here's an iPad.
Yeah,
Oh,
even
God.
better. I don't know how our parents did it without screens.
I don't know either.
But did you, after a day at work, and your kids are now...
16, 14 and 8.
Okay, so you had two little ones at one stage
Yes.
at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So would you come home from a day of reading stories and crafting boxes and just have nothing left to play, or you just...
Yeah, because I agree. I think play school presenters are very calm too, but it's actually takes quite a lot of energy to be that calm.
Absolutely. And also playing is so boring. And reading stories is so boring.
I actually love reading stories. I'm really, my kids...
That's why my kids want you to be their mother, not me.
I love reading to my kids so much. It's the best time of the day. And I think if I hadn't have had to move them into different rooms, we'd still all be reading together at night, I think. Like, I only stopped reading to Joe when he was probably 13.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a performance thing, do you think?
Probably. I probably enjoy it more
I was
than
going to
they
say, listen to Mummy get into character. Mummy does an excellent Hermione.
I do.
There comes a time, I imagine, I sort of see Australian actors in two streams. There's the ones that decide to go overseas and the ones that don't. And there's a huge number, fortunately, that decide to stay and continue to put their energies in the Australian industry. And I kind of never understood. I always thought, would you feel like you'd settled by not going overseas? And then I've realised that I've had the opportunity to go and work in New York in the media industry a number of times. And each time I've said no. Is it a bit like that? Because I just really love it here.
Yeah.
Is that what it's been like for you? Because when did the moment come where it was like, okay, are you going to go over to LA?
I did Hedda Gabler at the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and Look Both Ways, which is a film I was in, came out at the same time. So it was a very good time for me to get an agent.
Who was in Look Both Ways again?
William McGuinness.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you did Hedda with Kate Blanchett.
With Kate Blanchett.
And then you toured that on Broadway, didn't you, in the States?
Yeah.
So that was your moment.
That was my
if you
moment.
You were going to take it.
Yeah. And so I did take it, but I also had two really small children, so they were 2.5 and 4, and we all went to Brooklyn together and stayed there for 6 weeks, and then we went to LA for a little while afterwards, and I did the rounds a little bit there as a family, and then we went home, and then I went back again by myself and was just miserable. Like I just missed my family so much. And then I kept getting work here, really good work. And my agent kept saying, come over for pilot season. And I'd say, oh, I've got a job and I've got to feed my family. So I'm going to stay here and do this. And also they were good jobs. They weren't, it wasn't just like I've got to pay the rent. They were jobs that were interesting, and often it was theatre, but it was, stuff that I wanted to do. So
Does theatre pay as well as movies as well as TV? What pays the best?
Probably TV.
TV pays the best and is the most regular, like the most security?
No, not for everybody, no. But I think as a daily rate, it's probably the best.
And then film and then theatre?
Yeah, I think so. Depending on where you are in your career, yeah.
But is theatre like the
For your
most
soul.
crafty part of the craft?
Yeah. It's the it's the stuff that feeds you.
Yeah.
because you're in control of it. You're in total control. It's you and the audience. It's your relationship to the audience.
And it's in real time.
Yeah. And you can have another go at it if you get it wrong.
The next day.
Yeah, you can do it again. So, so anyway, I was in this kind of, situation where my agent was saying, come over pilot season. I was getting work. And then the 1 year when we went, okay, let's do this, was the writer's strike. And she said, don't come. This is the year that you shouldn't come. And that was it for me, really. That was my moment. And look, to be honest, I knew what I needed to do in order to stay there. And that meant really committing to 5, maybe 10 years of hard work there. And I'm sure that something would have come of it. I feel quite confident that if I'd put the work in, that something would. There's a lot of work there, and they really love Australian actors. They really respect them. But I couldn't see my life there. I couldn't see my family there. I wanted to be with my mother and my siblings, and I wanted my life to be. I wanted my kids to have a broader,
network,
a
village,
of family. Yeah,
you can't take a village to LA.
I'm sure you make amazing friends when you live overseas. I'm sure that those connections are really, really close. But I also know that my mother would just shrivel and wilt away if she didn't have her grandchildren around her.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that to her.
Did you make peace with it, or is it always something that you kind of wonder, what if, when you watch the Oscars and you watch the Emmys and you see many of your friends and your contemporaries, Russell and Kate and all of those people, do you kind of go, and, Toni Collette, and Rachel, do you sort of go, could have been me? Is there a twinge or...?
Probably. Sometimes there's a twinge. But for the most part, I just think you have worked really hard. And I understand now that the only way you get there is absolute 100% dedication to that goal. And I just I'd have so many other parts to my life. And I think what I've done now is accepted that that's just the way that I live and not felt like that meant that I was sort of lesser than in some way. But that's just how I like to live.
Sheryl Sandberg says in her book Lean In that the most important career choice a woman will ever make is her partner, and the impact choosing the right partner has on your career. Now, I've only met your husband one time, I think, and I was Googling him last night. He's a babe.
He's pretty
He's
hot.
a real hottie.
I know.
Tell me about meeting him and about your relationship.
So we met doing a play. We met doing Cyrano de Bergerac. He was playing Christian. I was playing Roxanne. And Christian's a good-looking one, obviously, that she falls in love with. Well, she thinks she's fallen in love with. And yeah, we just that was it. That was it. As soon as
How old were you?
I was 28. Yeah, 28. Or 27. Anyway, some time around there. It was around that, what do they call it? What's the 28-year mark when everything's your Saturn return?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I had one. I'm pretty sure I had one. So he was really nice to me and really interested in me, and he made me feel really good about myself, which was like a new thing to me. I'd never met a guy who did that.
Had you always dated actors?
Yeah.
What are they like, generally?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I didn't date...
They're very narcissistic and self-absorbed, not to make a generalisation, and I'm actually talking to one, so...
No, but they probably are.
Is that accurate?
They probably are, yeah. And also, you're in your 20s, and most people are anyway.
Yeah, that's also true.
But Jack was not like that. Jack wanted to hear what I had to say and he would listen to me, which was really like a new thing for me. And he said to me, you undersell yourself. You're really good at this. You need to play lead roles more. This is the first person who'd ever
really
talked.
Are actors quite competitive sometimes in couples?
I don't know. Because the actors I dated, we were at drama school, so... you're not really competitive. But But I think you can be, certainly.
Because there's a level of insecurity of,
Yeah.
I don't want to be outshined.
Yeah, and also you're very focused on what you need to do. So, yeah, I'd never met anybody like him, and really that was it for me. That was it. He's incredibly supportive, like extraordinarily supportive, and he thinks I'm amazing. So, what more do you want, really?
That's the best. Has he continued to act?
Yes, he has. He's actually doing a play at the moment. But he's one of those guys who can't not work, and a lot of acting is not working.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it. So
just waiting to be chosen by someone for reasons that you have no control over.
Which is very disempowering, and particularly for a man.
Hugely disempowering. And it's not even necessarily to do with your level of skill. It might just be because they need a blonde or they need...
Absolutely. And 9 times out of 10, it's got nothing to do with your skill.
So the rejection must be very hard to deal with.
Yeah, it can be pretty intense. It can be pretty bad. But he won't sit around and wait for the phone to ring. He'll go and get a job. So when we were first married, he'd do whatever he needed to do to support us. And, you know, we had kids very quickly. So he had to support a family. So he's always provided for the family in whatever way that he can. And now he has fantastic work when he's not acting because he's always made a point of trying to find it.
So in terms of your success, it clearly has never been a problem for him. It's been a gift for him.
Yeah, always. He celebrates every single win.
You've never had to feel apologetic for your success because working in the same industry... Yeah.
Never.
People can't hear you shaking your head.
Oh, okay, sorry. No, I have never, ever felt...
it could just sound like an awkward silence.
No, I've never felt like I have to apologise for...
or feel guilty.
Or feel guilty, no, never. And he will take the brunt of the parenting. It's not like we then get somebody else to do that so that he can pursue work. We try and make it so that one of us is at home with the kids, and he's just amazing at it. He's probably better at it than I am. He's far more organised. His boundaries are really clear with the kids. Yeah. No one's ever late for anything.
Oh, my God.
You know.
What would that be like?
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you did choose the right person for your career because being an actor is really hard in terms of schedule, reliability, hours, and being a parent at the same time. And when you had little kids, there's no maternity leave as an actor.
Nope.
How did you manage it in those years when the kids were small? Did you scale back or did you have to take every opportunity when it was there?
No, I took every opportunity when it was there because that was the one thing that I could do. So, yeah, I did. I did as much work as I could possibly do. More work then than I'd ever done in my life, actually. I don't know why I was so choosy in my 20s, but suddenly I was like, no, I'm up for it. Give me a job, and so then with that came amazing opportunities to be involved in really great productions.
Do you still have to audition for things, or are you in that privileged position of they come to you and you're like, maybe not, I'll decide? Yeah,
there's a little bit of that, and sometimes there's a bit of negotiation about auditioning.
Really?
Yeah. And so then it sort of comes down to how much you want the job. And if you want the job, then you'll audition.
Do you feel vulnerable in the room, or the vulnerability comes in being rejected?
No, I think it's in the room. I just think it's knowing that people are looking at you and scrutinising your voice or the way that you look or, you know, for whatever reason. It's just something to do with age, I think.
I was going to ask you about ageing.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing Muriel's Wedding, the musical now, and I just assumed you'd be playing Muriel.
I know. A couple of people have said that, which is really a massive compliment.
Why
that I am
wouldn't
about
you?
to turn 46.
Oh, well, I know that you are in 2 days because that's how old I am, but that's when I had to check myself. You know that thing where I went, well, obviously she'll be playing Muriel, and then I was like, oh, wait.
Wait a
We're
second.
not that age anymore.
No, we're in the other age bracket now. We're in the
so
Betty
you're playing
Heslops.
Muriel's mother.
Mm-hmm. I'm playing Betty Heslop.
How do you feel about that? You have to say, I feel great.
I feel really great. I'm just really thankful for the opportunity. Look, I just wanted to be in a musical, to be honest.
Of course you did.
the last musical I was in was The Sound of Music when I was...
I went with you to the audition for that. Was that the last musical you went to?
That was the last...
I remember. It was down on George Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I remember that so well. I was so excited to just be at the audition. I was like we were having a play date, and it was like when I had a play date at your house, often we would go to auditions, which I thought was the most exciting and glamorous thing in the world. And there was a line of people. We went with Bev, your mum, and there was a line of people, I don't know, 3,000 people were there.
Yeah.
Every kid in Australia was trying out for that role, for those roles. And naturally you got it. You were Brigitte?
Brigitte.
I remember.
Oh, my God.
I couldn't tell you my eldest child's phone number, but I remember the role that you had in The Sound of Music. How many years ago? 35, 38 years ago? Anyway, I can't believe, why have you not done a musical since then?
I have auditioned, but I just don't get them because I don't have a music theatre voice. I don't have that
Belter.
You're
not a belter.
I'm not a belter, and I get really, really nervous.
Do you?
Yeah, the most nervous I get nervous in auditions, but I get sort of stupidly nervous where I shake. I did an audition for Matilda, and I wore these platform heels, and I walked a little bit while I was singing, and stuff like that. Like I went over on my ankle.
Yeah.
Like really make a fool of myself in them.
What role in
Miss Honey?
Oh, Miss Honey. Oh, you would have been so good at that.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Until I rolled my ankle in the audition. And every time I sang one of the high notes, they'd scribble something down on a piece of paper.
Sheepers.
Yeah, it's really, really intimidating.
Yeah. So now can you say, that's interesting, the negotiation process with the power and the reputation you have. Can you just go, no, I'm not doing that?
Yeah, I just won't put myself through it.
Yeah.
I won't put myself through it. But, something like Muriel's, I mean, apart from the fact that it's a new Australian work, it's a iconic film that, everybody loves. Working with amazing director, the composers, Kate Miller-Heidke and Kian Nuttall, it's just so brilliant. The music's brilliant. And so
Did you have to audition?
I did a few workshops and I did have to audition. In a very relaxed way, though, not in a way that was
people writing on clipboards.
too intimidating.
Yeah. I can't imagine anything scaring you.
Really? Oh, I get scared.
As a performer, do you always remain insecure? I suppose we've all got imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think someone's going to confiscate my equity card every single time I start a new job. I think, I don't know how to do this. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I find that when I get angry, like I wasn't included in the Writers' Festival this year, Sydney Writers' Festival. I'm never included in Writers' Festivals, right? And that makes me really angry and upset. And I realise that that's because it pokes me in my imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm really emotional and angry about something, it's usually because I feel like I'm a fraud and I've been found out.
Yeah. Yep. I actually the other day thought, I'm really sick of this. I don't want to feel this anymore. Because we just had our first preview last night, and I, up until that point, was like, I'm terrible at this. I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing,
When does it flip?
Well, it flipped last night because we had a really good show.
Do you find that you need a lot of I would need a lot of reassurance.
I need to debrief.
You're great. You're amazing.
I just need to talk to somebody, and Jack is an amazing listener. So I could just download to him, and he just listens. And he gives really good advice and really good feedback. He'll
just say, babe, you have these doubts every time. You've got this.
Exactly. He'll just talk me down from the ledge every single time. And he was always like that. I was saying that to him the other day. I said, when we first started dating, he was the first guy who I would ring and he would pick up his phone. So I think it was in the very, very early days of mobile phones.
Yeah, right.
And, other guys, you just couldn't get in touch with them somehow. But he would always pick up his phone and he'd always turn up.
He was there for you.
There. Bless him.
Do you feel like you've got to get stuff done to your face?
Well, no, because I'm flipping over into that age now.
MILFs. You're flipping over into a MILF?
But
or just an old lady.
I'm Betty Heslop.
But no one wants to
Exactly, I'm Betty Heslop.
You're a granny now. That is completely unfuckable. So that's good. You can save on Botox and that's excellent.
Exactly. Like I make more of my lines for this role.
Yeah, right.
And because, she's lived a life. I don't think she's actually that much older than me.
No. I've got a 20-year-old son. He could be Muriel.
Exactly right. So, but I don't know. I just do it.
But is it something, you have to see, you're out there. I imagine you're auditioning all the time. It's a profession that is very appearance based.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to do publicity shoots, and I was reading up on you last night and looking at an interview from the Sydney Morning Herald, and there were those beautiful photos of you in all those beautiful gowns and outfits. Like there's an aspect of appearance judging that goes on.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you reconcile all of that? You're a mother of a daughter. You're the daughter of a mother.
Yeah. I think I'm in the middle of actually reconciling it right now. And I think, I think I kind of have shied away a little bit in a sense. Like I sort of, that's probably partly why I do lots of other things as well, because I don't like the focus to be on how I look.
When you say do lots of other things, what do you mean?
Also, making albums and, just executive produced my television show, which started last night. So
how is that not a competition to play school? Or are you...
the ABC were very excited
because
by
you're a
it.
star in your own right.
But I think because the clips, my clips have played on air for so long, so I have my own little space in that sort of interstitial space, it's
like
called.
Watermelon.
Yeah, all those clips.
We got all those albums. We just, and the DVDs, we went around Europe when Coco was about 18 months old, and we knew every word off by heart. You came with us.
Good.
Yeah. So I see. So you do things where it's not about how you look.
That's right.
It's about what you do.
That's right. And I think maybe that's partly because I am getting to that age where you go one way or the other. And
yes,
I think
it's true, isn't it? We have to choose.
Yeah.
Are we going to put our face? No judgment, but are we going to go that route try to stay looking eternally 32?
That's right.
Or do we go the full Betty Hessler?
Yeah, we go the Betty Hessler.
Well, I've got to dye my hair. I'm going to grey, so I've still dyed my hair, but I haven't crossed over onto that yet because I feel like for me it's a slippery slope. I know it's not for everyone, but I feel like there's a line in my mind that I can't cross.
Yeah. I think my other thing about it is I feel like am I not trying hard enough then? Does that mean I'm not trying hard enough? Like it's that fine line between not letting yourself go, but also, what's the word? Accepting some things, but you have to always balance that, I think, with not just letting yourself go.
I think Australia is more forgiving than the States of that as well. I mean, you look at people like Lisa Wilkinson, Rebecca Gibney and Georgie Parker, and some of the most powerful and successful women on television at the moment are in their 40s and 50s.
Yep.
So that's encouraging for us. I should have said before when you were saying about, auditioning, you also are at the stage of your career where you have work written for you, which is must be an extraordinary compliment. What happens if someone says, I've written this for you and you don't like it?
Well, most of the time people write things with you in mind. So a writer will imagine an actor in a role because they like that actor. So they'll write thinking of you in that role. And so it's actually just a real compliment that someone's inspired by your work.
Do you have to do it then?
You don't have to. No, you don't have to.
The Time of Our Lives on ABC, was that written for you? Because that was just so you.
Yeah, I think that again.
And The Surgeon was written for you.
Yeah, they had me in mind.
Yeah.
For those roles. Yeah.
That must be an enormous compliment. Like, talk about an antidote to the audition nerves.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing, and you do feel part of. That's a really collaborative way of working as well. So yeah, I know, and I look back on it now, and I think I've had extraordinary opportunities, and I've worked with amazing directors and writers in this country who are now, most of them are going overseas and doing amazing work over there.
Do your kids want to be performers?
No.
Happy, sad? How do you feel?
Happy.
Because this is the end of the line. It's come down in generations. Your mum was a dancer and a choreographer.
Yeah. Pretty happy. Maybe my little one will. He might because he's he's just out there. He's just that typical third child.
Yeah.
Just
choose your own adventure.
Yeah. I've got no idea actually I don't know what he'll do with his life. No idea. Whereas the other two, they're very sort of well balanced.
Are they musical?
People. They play instruments, but they don't perform. They only play for pleasure, just for pleasure at home. Joe hopefully, this is all I want for Joe. I want him to be able to get a songbook out and be the guy that, when they go, play this one, he's got the guitar out and he can play the chords. And he can do that.
And
That's
your daughter?
Good. She plays piano.
Nina,
yeah. She plays piano and sings, but she doesn't sing in front of anybody.
How have they always felt having you famous?
They've always been really great about it.
Not that they have a choice and not that they've ever known any other mum.
No, but they're not embarrassed in any way. It hasn't caused them any embarrassment, I don't think.
No, I think it would give them cred, surely.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe Maxie's been teased a little bit lately at school. But he's kind of okay. He's pretty proud. I'm a bit surprised by it actually.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get more grief about it.
Well, I'm pretty proud. I waste no opportunity to drop your name. We were best friends.
I do the same thing.
I know her.
Do.
I know her in real life. Told my kids today, Justine Clarke's coming in today. No way.
Do you know what I remember? The mulberry tree.
The mulberry tree. I had a mulberry tree in my backyard and we used to sit in the mulberry. What's happened to mulberries? Do you see many mulberries anymore?
I wondered that too.
Become extinct.
But whenever I buy a punnet every now and again, maybe once every 5 years.
Do you think of me?
And the only family I think of is yours.
And silkworms.
Yes.
My parents send their love to you as well.
Can you please give them my love?
I will. And Bev.
Okay, for
I
sure.
love Bev. Bev's amazing. The one commercial I got to do was a Best and Less commercial and Bev choreographed it.
Get out.
I earned $60. It was a highlight of my life. I can still sing it and I can still do the dance.
What do you mean? Can you?
Yeah.
Can you sing it for me?
I know my mother something, her freckles she can't hide. I know my mother shoots me to a T. I know
Oh my gosh.
But Mommy knows best. Mommy knows best and less.
My God.
How's that? Thank you for listening to No Filter. Isn't she the best? You can subscribe to No Filter in iTunes, you can listen to us in Spotify, or you can download the Mamamia podcast app. I host or co-host 2 other podcasts. One is called Mamamia Out Loud, which I do with Holly Wainwright and Jessie Stevens. And the other one I co-host with an American-Australian friend of mine called Amelia Lester, and it's about Donald Trump, and it's called Tell Me It's Going to Be Okay, where we debrief on the week in Trump and hold each other and try to reassure each other that it's going to be okay. Hopefully it will be. So you can find those in the Mamamia podcast app or in the iTunes store. And we have lots of others, including Hello Bump if you're pregnant, This Glorious Mess, which is our family podcast. We have I Don't Know How She Does It, which is a series of interviews with working mums. So many podcasts. We've got The Binge, which is about pop culture and what to live stream. If you like any of our podcasts, please leave us a 5-star rating because it helps other people find them. You can call, if you want to speak to a real person or actually a real voicemail and make a suggestion, you can call the pod phone on 02 8999 9386 or flick us an email at podcast@mamamia.com.au. We read all of your emails and listen to all of your messages. Today's show was produced by the lady who does that, Eliza Ratliff, for the Mamamia Women's Network, and our director of podcasts is Rachel Corbett. I am Mia Friedman. Lots of love, and I'll see you on the internet.